Welcome to the grand opening of the Daily Haul Beyond the Cart. I'm your host, Sunshine, and I'm so glad you're here. Now, if you've been hanging out with me for a while, you know this journey started as Let's Unpack This. On that show, we spent time unpacking the messy and the complex stories this life has to offer, and a lot of it was about me, pretty much everything. But I felt like it was time for a total overhaul. I've moved us into a brand new space that fits where we are now. And I'll be honest, I've been working so hard on this new storefront. Shameless plug for youshoptoomuch.com, my e-commerce store. I've been working on that storefront in this new vibe, and I realized that I was cutting it like insanely close to my launch deadline. It is literally January 30th at 9:38 p.m. Eastern. So I wanted to get a show in the month of January. And then we're going to do a price check once a week for every month hereafter. Lord willing, and the creek don't rise. So at any rate, I'm happy to be able to get this out to you just before the January clock runs out. Now, on this particular show, we're still unpacking life, but we're going to do it through the lens of the haul. Now, for anyone who just stumbled upon us or who doesn't know, a haul is that collection of items that you've hunted down, purchased, and brought home, usually for a steal. Whether you shop online or in store, your haul is all the goodies that you gathered up and you bring them home and you show them off or whatever it is that you do with them. And so whether it's a retail purchase or a relationship return, we're going to look at all of it. Now, I'm realizing, that maybe some of you don't know me from a can of paint, and maybe you want to know how I came to be a reseller. So allow me to introduce myself. I'm Sunshine. I'm a Midwest lady. I'm in my 50s. And honestly, from the time I could walk, I visited flea markets with my parents. My mother has never been much of a shopper, honestly, but I was born to a father who loved a good deal. Actually, no, my father loved free. I mean, if you showed my dad a pair of designer jeans and he asked you what you paid for it, it doesn't matter what price it was, you paid too much. If you showed him something and said it cost $50, he would always joke, well, hell, you paid $45 too much. That was my dad. Like, he wanted to get things for the bare minimum. I'm so sorry. I'm under the weather, but we are going to power through this thing. Now, I remember one time, visiting a yard sale with him, and this yard sale was being held by, there were three ladies there, and they were very old, and I was so bored, and I was just like, why are we here? Everything they have is old-fashioned. And then my dad, he taught me the definition of the word antique. That was my first time hearing it, and, he told me that yard sales, there were all kinds of treasures and all kinds of things that nobody had discovered yet in this place. And so I'm looking at it like, I remember seeing Sanford and Son, and that's all I could think of was like, this must be their empire, because that's what it looked like. And it was at this particular yard sale that he ended up buying a ball of chains. I'm not saying ball and chain. I'm saying a ball of chains, as in chains, like necklaces. And when I say ball, I mean ball. It was tangled. It was a tangled mess. And I was in shock. I was like, why would you buy that junk? And he said, sometimes the prettiest things are hidden under a whole lot of ugly. And then he handed me the stinky ball of chains and said, work on that for a while. It stunk. If you've ever smelled a penny or a neck chain, like a dirty chain, like there was like a really distinct smell. And this ball had that smell. So, I'll keep pushing forward. I did more than learn what was in that ball of jewelry. I learned that it's true. The ugliest exteriors can possess incredible beauty within, because in that ball of chains, I found a beautiful gold cross. It was a solid gold cross, and I found a gold ring, and I found some really pretty, like, cosmetic costume necklaces, right? And so if you looked at the ball, though, just from the outside, you would never have guessed that those things were buried within that ball. And so that also applies to life, because if we just keep untangling our shit, eventually we get to the good stuff. And also, as a child, I knew that I had been bitten by the yard sale bug. I learned that people were out here letting go of things of value and they may not even know. Like, what other things were out there waiting to be discovered? Now, I would eventually find myself working in a flea market at my father's booth. My father sold statues, and it was like a group effort, within my family to make those statues. But that whole situation is the stuff for a therapist couch. It is not a happy story for me. It is not a time that I look back on with joy or anything. It actually makes me quite angry. So I'm going to leave that alone. But anyway, in that flea market, I met some very interesting people. There was a woman named Louisa. She was a jeweler. A man named V. Roman and his wife, they sold custom clothing. Louisa was a gold dealer. And she was one of the first people that I had ever seen who had like the engraved photo on a gold medallion. Her husband passed away and she had his picture engraved on it. And this was way back in the 90s. There was a gentleman named Bobby West, and Bobby sold stereos. He sold jewelry. He's pretty much sold anything you could want. And then there was the picture man. His name was Easy. Everybody in the North End knew this guy. He was from California. And like the flea market was such a fun place. There were so many personalities together, everybody existing under that one huge roof. And it was funny because there would be rivalries over who had the best booth space and, who was going to be in the front row. Trust and believe, we were always in the back because Wilkie wasn't about to pay for a space in the main area, let alone the front row. And it was there that I would learn about haggling and that way more is negotiable, than I previously thought. Now, I wouldn't consider selling anything myself until I joined eBay. And eBay was established in September of 1995. And I didn't join eBay until 2003. So I was like super late to the party. But when I did join, my mind was blown. I instantly had access to so many things that I hadn't found in stores. Not the stores near me. But when I joined eBay, I was a buyer. I wasn't, I didn't get on there to sell anything. I was buying health and beauty items. There were some electronics. And as I began to collect items in my own home, then I started to sell them for a profit. Now, in the interest of time, I'm going to fast forward to going to Goodwills and other thrift stores, buying items. I would clean them up so they looked like they were like damn near new. And you guess it, I would sell them for a profit. Now, things really took off when my dear friend Dan exposed me to a whole new world of selling. He asked me to take a ride with him. And what happened next, honestly, it has been a blessing and a curse. Dan took me to an auction warehouse. He taught me how to register for my bidder number. And what followed was something for the books. I purchased furniture from Wayfair, from Joss and Main. I purchased items from Return Pallets. I purchased brand new items from, national retailers. And I was purchasing these items for pennies on the dollar. And I was reselling these items at an insane profit. I had the microwaves that used Alexa, things that you either can't get now or they are priced outrageously. I learned about buying pallets. I've never bought one, but I learned about buying them. I'm still earning income off of items I purchased in 2018. I was doing the auctions between 2018 and 2022 when the pandemic kind of went into full swing. And a lot of the items that I purchased then, because they cost way more now than they did then, my profits are still sweet. Now, unfortunately, as more people would learn about these auctions, but not how to bid properly, newbies, people who are literally just looking for something for their home and not looking to resell, the value of the shopping auctions has all but disappeared. The prices there, they're not much different than what you would pay in store or online. And auction items don't have a warranty. So why would I buy it from an auction if I can just get it online for the same price? And now, as far as price, I will admit that I'm probably spoiled by the good old days, but I truly think these newbies have ruined the process. I also started selling wholesale jewelry. I sell jewelry by paparazzi, and then I do sell some unbranded pieces. And one thing about it, I have the security of knowing that if things ever go south, I'll always survive because there's always something to sell for a profit. And that brings us to how all of this ties together. Every week, we'll perform a price check. Now, this is where I take a scenario sent in by you, the shoppers of this community, and we'll decide if a situation is a bargain or a total ripoff. I'll look at the facts, I'll look at the feelings, and then I'll give you my sunshine verdict. Sometimes I'll tell you take the deal, but other times, transaction denied. I'm also going to work on like a visual component, hopefully very soon, where I'll be on camera and I can just bring you into the store with me. But for now, I don't have that capability, but I wanted to do something on audio. So let's get into our first audit. Now, this particular scenario is coming from a young lady on TikTok. She has actually purchased items from me online at my e-commerce store, and we DM every now and again. And I'm just going to call her Buyer Beware Brooke based on what happened to her. So she sent me a DM and she said, "Oh my God, Sunshine, I need your help. I think I'm being scammed, but I don't know." So I sold this gorgeous vintage wool trench coat for $250. It was an estate sale find. And if you've never been to an estate sale, please find one and go, because it is a wonderland for people who love to thrift. Now, the buyer just got the coat and DM'd me. Now this, I've already read this, of course, and when I first read it, I had to stop and I had to read it a couple of times because I was so confused. She said the buyer tells her that she was steaming the coat out and she found a $100 bill hidden inside the lining. Cha-ching! Like, I thought she would be happy. But the crazy part is this woman is demanding that Brooke send her a $100 refund because the cash wasn't listed in the description. And she's saying now that she thinks she overpaid. And she's threatening her with a 1-star review if she doesn't pay her. Is she for real? Do I have to give her the money back? Help me, please. All right, Brooke, honey. This is just cut and dry. First of all, don't be afraid to take one for the team. Okay? Don't be afraid to take a 1-star review from someone, because for every 1-star review you get, you'll get 5-star reviews and it'll all balance out. And people will use that threat to take advantage of you. They will use that threat to screw you over and have you bleeding cash. So, okay, cool. 1 star, no problem. But she's trying to double dip. She's trying to screw you over. And in the world of reselling, when you buy a vintage item as is, you're buying it as is. If it comes with the lucky $100 bill, cool. If there was a hole in the pocket, she wouldn't have sent you money for a repair. Nor would she contact you and say, "Hey, there's a hole in the pocket on this as-is jacket. Can you send money for the repair?" So she found a bonus. That's hers to keep, but it is not a debt for you to pay. She's literally trying to use the not as described for you to pay her when she found $100. This shouldn't even be up for discussion. I would tell her, enjoy her $100 and her coat, and that's a no on the refund. Her price check, transaction denied. Period. So I hope that helps you, Brooke. And to my listeners, if you have a story that needs a second opinion, send it to our new home, ifshoppingwascardio@gmail.com. I'm Sunshine, and I'm looking forward to hanging out and unpacking life with you all, one haul at a time. I'll see y'all at checkout.